Going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football. We are, of course, here for the Big 12 Championship game. It's our weekly Roundup game preview, not preview. It's only one game this week, and it is the most important of the season between, of course, the BYU Cougars and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. So we're back here on the program, Mr. Brandon Larson. Brandon, glad to have you back, man, and talking about, obviously, the ultimate game before we get to the top 12 teams. This is it for BYU, Texas Tech. A lot riding on this game. We're going to talk about their previous matchup they had earlier in the season, what both teams can do to get it right, to get back on track, and maybe ensure a victory this upcoming Saturday at noon. And, of course, we're going to preview, predict who will win the Big 12 championship in the 2025 season. So how you doing this afternoon, man? Glad to have you back on the program.
You're doing pretty good, and thanks for having me back. Had a couple week hiatus, getting into a new job, so I'm glad to be back. Found some more time to get the show going, and I mean, what a better week for it? Championship week. Big 12. They are 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 12 p.m. Eastern.
Yep.
So they kick off championship week. So I think what a good matchup to kick it off. I'm excited to break it down. I'm hoping for a good game, but we'll see what the prediction shows.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Before we get into it, though, if you enjoy the episode, please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We go live here on the channel each and every single week, not just talking Big 12, talking about other great sports or other great conferences as well in college football, as well as, of course, NFL. And, of course, once we get to the start of the year, we're going to be going heavy into the recruiting, heavy into the draft. So we're going to be kind of shining a lot more light. We're going to be talking about a lot of players here today, but we're going to be shining more of a light on, I'm sure, about a lot of these guys for both squads here come 2026, and as they prepare to go forward into the NFL and where we think they might go. So that's coming, just a little preview for the start of 2026. But before we get there, we have to get to the Big 12 championship game, which, as you said, is going to be tomorrow on Saturday at noon Eastern. It's going to be out there at AT&T Stadium, so they're going where the Cowboys are at. They're going to Jerry World. A lot of fanfare, a lot of hype around both these teams coming into this matchup, and we're going to see how it is. Of course, we know BYU currently ranked number 11 with an 11-1 record, and Texas Tech currently ranked number 4 in the nation, also with an 11-1 record. So all the marbles on the line for this one, and we're going to talk more about it. But let's go back here, Brandon, because we know, as we said, these two teams played in early to kind of, you can say, mid-November on the 12th. 11 going into the 12th, actually. It was kind of a later game. And Texas Tech, they did win that ball game. Final score 29-7, but the score really doesn't tell the whole story because Texas Tech, it was very special teams heavy in terms of just how they got their points. Their kicker, Stone Harrington, went 5 of 5 from field goals. So he scored 15 of the 29 points just off his leg alone. But, hey, a win is a win, and you take them how you can. Obviously, for Texas Tech, they struggled on offense that game, just getting into the end zone for that one. Just a smidge compared to what we're normally seeing. Look, when a team's as good as they are on especially defense, we'll talk more about that. Their offense had a little bit of a down day, I say in quotes, but they still got the win against a feisty BYU team who they really just struggled to get anything going. We know how tough that Texas Tech team is.
Yeah.
And hey, the fact they scored a touchdown, I think was impressive enough. But let's start off with BYU though. Let's start with the Cougars and what you think they can fix from that previous matchup. We can just go offense first because they struggled in there obviously the most.
Let me too also give a shout out to BYU first off too. Credit them for making it here. It was the BYU Utah game earlier in the season. Rolling into that game, I just had a gut feeling that the winner of that game would be playing Tech in the championship game, and so credit to BYU for getting it done, being where they're at. But man, when it comes to this matchup, if for BYU to pull this out, it's like they're about to play the game of their life. If BYU is coming out with a dub, everybody is about to play the game of their life, and it starts with Bear. Bear is going to have to be, I want to say uncharacteristic. It's going to have to be a passing attack. They can't come into this game thinking that they're going to run the ball to open up the pass. I think it's going to be very much the opposite. You look at Texas Tech's one loss, Arizona State. Sam Levitt, it was Air Levitt for that game. Levitt was tossing the ball all over the place, hitting big throws downfield and stretching this defense, not allowing the D-line to control the game, by basically just running repeatedly into it. And that's where I think it starts. Is Bear is going to have the best passing game he's had in his career. They're going to have to. It's on his shoulders. It's going to be, there's no. In the first game, they really tried to protect him, and now we're at the end of the season. There's no protection there. It's on his shoulders to win this game because their strengths are R.J. Martin, the run game, his rushing, and like I said, at this far in, we have 12 games of film for Texas Tech, and we know that you're not getting a run game going against Tech. So I don't think that should be the come in with the game plan. Like that needs to be an afterthought of how you're going to attack. I think you've got to get Chase Roberts and Kingston going. Like I said, I almost put it to, I'll bet you somewhere around 8 to 10 big time throws Bear has to make in this game that we're talking. That's going to be on, big third and longs, or, some explosive plays, touchdown plays, something like that. Like he's going to have to make some big time throws in this game for them to even be in it. Not saying that it can't happen. They've got talent on the edges. It's going to have to be a complete 180 of what they put on film for the last 12 games. BYU hasn't been a high flying, air raid offense, but that's what it's going to take to stretch and I think get through on this Texas Tech defense. Because if you think you're going to run it, like I said, we've seen it. We've seen it for 12 games now. They're averaging giving up 70 yards rushing. Like that ain't going to cut it. And so I think that's the biggest part. And then on the flip side, BYU their defense went with the keep everything in front of them, kind of the bend but don't break. They did really good in the red zone. And so I think it's a little bit different approach. I think I actually wrote in my notes here, attack on offense and defense. I think you're bringing the blitz. You're trying to get to, I forget his name now. I just spaced quarterback's name. Not Mon. Bear Morton. Yeah, I was like Morton. I wanted to say his backup, and I'm like, no, that's the backup.
A lot of beans with Bachmeier, Bear, all that.
Yep, you got to get pressure on them. You look at how Tech handled the Utes game. The Utes actually got pressure, got to Morton. I think that's something replicable, but I think it's more of an attacking style rather than a bend don't break in this game. And you've got to have some good things go your way. You've got to get some good turnovers out the gate. You've got to really get some pressure on Morton to get him off his step. And then the same thing, a quick touchdown on offense. And like I said, you almost want to have them on their heels, being ready to backpedal because they know you're passing against them before you bust out the run. Because like I said, what they've shown with this defensive line, you're not just going to run straight at it and have success. 12 games now says otherwise. So that's kind of the way I see it breaking down. And that's why I think as a team, BYU is about to have the game of their life if they are to win this game.
Like you said, with Texas Tech on their defense, going to just kind of start there first. They give up 70 yards of rushing per game, which is just insane. And let's also, looking back at the game they had in November, they were able to stuff L.J. Martin, who just the other day was able to win the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year award. So congrats to him for winning that award. But they were able to limit him to only 35 yards, 10 carries on that. As a team for BYU, 27 carries for only 67 yards, average of only 2.5. So just clearly wasn't getting it done then. You would hope that maybe Martin could have a better game in this one if they want to have a shot, as well as you mentioned, with Bachmeier he needs to have a clean game because we've seen him kind of be susceptible to throwing turnovers, to having interceptions. Which I'm like, it's not insane, but it seems like they kind of come at the worst times. We know he's not, I would say prolific passer. And I say that because he only has 14 passing touchdowns on the season. He has thrown for a lot of yards, but he kind of, you throw the ball to set up the run and vice versa, for the team. Because like I said, with the talent you have in Martin, obviously you want to feed him the ball, but if it ain't working like it didn't work last time, you got to switch it up, and you got to hope that, like I said, the Bachmeier can get the ball out to Kingston, to Roberts, and so on and so forth. The rest of that crew over there that we've talked about here on the channel since we started the show, and how good they are, how good they can be against teams in their conference. But I think for Texas Tech, it could just kind of be, in a way, business as usual. Like I said, you beat this team. I need, Bear Morton, he's had a good season as well, just under 2,500 yards. And also just want to give a shout out as well to Cam Dickey. Talk about LJ Martin, obviously won Big 12 Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, so good work for him. But Dickey's also had an impressive season. And in the win against BYU, he was a really big focal point. 23 carries, 121 yards, scored once as well. He's got over 1,000 yards on the season, 13 total touchdowns on 180 carries. So as good as Martin is numbers-wise, Dickey's is kind of neck and neck with him in terms of production. So that's scary if you're a BYU fan, just how good they are. And, of course, with Texas Tech, on the receiving side, you got a lot of talented guys like Douglas, who's got 7 touchdowns on the year. Of course, you got Virgil, Eakin, so on and so forth, who, like I said, with Texas Tech, they spread the ball around. There is, in a way, no true, I would say, number one receiver because everyone gets kind of a piece of the pie. And that, to me, is what makes them dangerous on offense. Now, looking over the defense, I mean, looking at these awards that they racked up here, Brandon, I mean, let's just go down the list here. I got it pulled up. So, Defensive Player of the Year. Any guesses for
it's
Texas
Bailey. It's Bailey. I know
actually,
John.
No.
It's going to be Rodriguez, huh?
Jacob Rodriguez was the Defensive Player of the Year, linebacker for Texas Tech. However, you mentioned David Bailey. He did win a few awards. He won the Defensive Newcomer of the Year award. And also, I just want to give a shout out real quick to your guy, Devin Dampier. He won the Offensive Newcomer of the Year award out there in Utah. So impressive there. Bear Bachmeyer as well, Offensive Freshman of the Year. We know he had a good season. But also, David Bailey won not just the Newcomer of the Year, he won also the Defensive Lineman of the Year. And, I mean, are we really surprised here?
Lineman or line? Oh, Dave Bailey did, right?
Yeah, David Bailey. Yep, David
Bailey. Okay, make sure. And, not surprised by that. He's probably one of the best in the country.
12.5 sacks on the season. Come on. And no disrespect as well to Kelly, right? Kelly over there, BYU, he has done a tremendous job as well. He's got 9 sacks on the year. He can get to the quarterback as well. But, hey, Bailey just a smidge better, at least this season, in terms of numbers-wise. But, hey,
when you're causing a turnover a game.
Yeah, that's
like you yourself, that is like that is dang impressive. Like your 1.0 turnover ratio per game as a player, that's insane. Shout out to Jacob Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's Rodriguez. He's a senior, so this is his last year. And boy, what a way to go out. I mean, he was tremendous in 2024 as well. But man, 2025, he turned it up and just another great season. And look, man, we've sung the praises of Texas Tech, and outside of their one loss to Arizona State, no one has really even been able to even come close to beating them in a way. I mean, after that, and also it's a 4-point loss. It wasn't like they even lost by a touchdown. After that, they beat up on Oklahoma State, shut them out 42-0. K-State a little bit closer in a way, I say 43-20. But they pitched a shutout in their last game against West Virginia, 49-0. They beat up on UCF, 48-9. I mean, they are just high flying at the best level right now. And
I mean, Utah gave them a good game. That score is not indicative of the Utah game because they were, it was a 2-possession game with 7 minutes left in the fourth, but the floodgates broke on that one, and they ran away with it. So I mean, they've been impressive this year, and I kind of expect it to continue. I actually think if they fix their red zone woes that they had versus BYU the first time around, I could see them scoring a little bit more. You flip 5 of those field goals that they kicked against them, take 2 to 3 of those, turn them into touchdowns, and that's 35, 40 points that they scored instead. And I think it's I want to say a simple fix, but they have the balance on offense. I was looking at it. They had 31 receiving touchdowns and 29 rushing touchdowns. That is the epitome of balanced. And like you said, they take what the defense gives you. There's no really go-to guy. Everyone's counted on and can be a go-to guy on third down. And so I think that's really where the lethality comes from their offensive side. And then their defense, man, they got one of the top pressure, like as far as D-line, they get pressure on the quarterback real quick. They hold up against the run. And the scariest part is they only bring 4. They're not, occasionally they might be bringing Jacob, but really they don't need to. They can rush 4 and they get to your quarterback in, less than 3 seconds, less than 2 seconds. So that's where it really comes down, is because then they can sit back in zone. That's why I think I think Bear had his struggles the first time around. Is they really were able to sit back in zone, have eyes on the quarterback while getting pressure, like they were bringing 4 or 5 guys, 5 or 6 guys equivalent. And that's, like I said, that's really where I think they shined. Obviously, their D line's been so dominant, and I don't expect it to change exactly. Tech hasn't won a championship. They haven't won a Big 12 championship yet, and a lot of people say that the only way the Big 12 gets 2 teams in is if BYU wins. And I think ask Tech what they think, and they think they'd rather be the one team representing the Big 12 because they want a title. You know what I mean? Like that,
Yeah.
it's for the conference, but like this is uncharted ground for them, and I expect them to handle business and get the job done. They are too complete of a team, I think.
Yeah, and I know, Brandon, you are a Utah fan. However, a lot of people I've been saying are thinking that these 2 teams might be, kind of the top 2 in the conference for a while. And I say that because both head coaches for both these squads, they recently, just within this week, have signed extensions with these programs for multiple years for a lot of money. I know, obviously, with Sataki at BYU, he was rumored to go to Penn State, but he shut that down. He chose to stay at BYU. And of course, we know with Texas Tech and their head coach, Joey McGuire, he's there for another, I believe, 7 years. And I have not seen an actual link for Sataki yet. It just says a long-term extension. But I can assume let's just spitball over 4 years. I don't think it might be anything less at that point.
He's pretty close to, this is your job until you don't want it anymore, as far as status at BYU. But also I don't want to say like pump the brakes a little bit, but also realize like BYU on their season, as good and as impressive as it's been, there's 4 or 5 games in there that 1 or 2 plays go the other direction. And we're not talking about BYU in this game at all. They have a couple more losses. So credit to them. They won the games. They got it done. But to think that they're just head and shoulders better than everybody else, I don't see it. Tech now, on the other hand, there's quite a bit of a difference in the level of team that Tech brings. But BYU, like, I don't want to say lucky exactly, but in those close games when it, a bounce of a muff punt, like you take one of the 2 turnovers away from the Utah game and they didn't win that game. Yes. And that was self-inflicted. You can't muff a punt going into halftime when you're about to set yourself up for the last 2-minute drill and score a touchdown, and instead you muff a punt and set up BYU. And that was really the difference in that game. So I don't want to say it's a sustainable way of winning, but eventually when you start playing those close games, eke it out here and there, like eventually your luck shifts. And that's kind of where I look at the 2 difference of the teams. Like Tech has buried just about everybody they've played.
Yeah.
BYU's buried a couple teams, and it wasn't until late in the season that they actually did. They had way too many close calls where it's just like, if you think you're going to play that type of game with Tech, they'll bury you. And that, I think they proved that, based on the film and everything else. And that's kind of where, I mean, if you want to lead into prediction or you want to go your end first, but go ahead.
I'm looking forward to this game. I think, obviously, look, both these head coaches, we know, super impressive. They've earned the right to put their name on that dotted line and stay at their respective programs for many years to come. Excited to see, also as we kind of like ahead past this game, the recruitment and how it's going to go. And obviously we know Texas Tech, it's tough out there. Like, man, it's tough in Texas. Ain't no question about that, with all the other great competition across different conferences. It's tough to, in a way, be in their position because everyone looks at, A&M or, they look at just the Longhorns in general. But, hey, man, Texas Tech has been super impressive this year. We'll see how their, recruitment class does. Who all they sign, who all they can maybe steal away. And same for BYU as we look ahead to the future. And as we talk about, once this game's over, a lot of these guys are going to be leaving, packing up, and heading on to brighter futures, hopefully in the NFL, and having a prosperous and good career there. But as we look ahead to tomorrow, noon o'clock, 12 Eastern, I would call it an upset if BYU was to pull this one off, but I still it's hard to go against Texas Tech with how well they've played. Like I said, they had that one stumble. They took their eye off the ball for just a few minutes against Arizona State, and that cost them. And other than that, they've responded great. They've looked good, and they've dominated on pretty much all sides around. Offense,
Mm-hmm.
defense, special teams. BYU, a gritty ball club, a great running attack, good young offense as well over at Bear Bachmeier. Solid defense as well. Really good players all around for both these two. That's why they're in this position fighting for that Big 12 championship game. But for me, I will have to go with the Texas Tech Red Raiders, who are the favorite in this ball game. For me, I'll go final score. I'll go 28 for Texas Tech. Keep it a little bit lower because, look, I know some people think they might get a little bit more, but I always, for championship games, some people either get a little bit more timid. They, maybe second guess themselves. You see some mistakes made in championship games as well, just because you're overthinking. So I'll go 28 for Texas Tech, and I'll go 17 for BYU. I think they can finally get a little bit of offense going. I want to see some. I don't want to see a 28-3. I don't want to know that. But I want to see, BYU put up a good fight and actually maybe crack a little bit of that tremendous Texas Tech Red Raiders defense. But I think ultimately, though, in the end, I believe the better team on paper that, we've talked about all season. I think Texas Tech, this is their title this year. BYU wins. Congratulations to them. I think it will be an upset. I think a lot of people will believe that as well. And if BYU does win, like I said, you have that conversation now. Do you keep two Big 12 teams in the top 12 for the college football playoff? It remains to be seen. But I think with my prediction, just keep Texas Tech in there. They'll win out. They'll keep their ranking. Top 5 team, no doubt. And we'll see what happens there. But Brandon, let's get your predictions here. Big 12 championship game as we celebrate the year of regular season and see who the top dog is here.
So right off the bat, it actually reminds me of the Pac-12 championship game a few years back when Utah was facing Oregon. Earlier in the season, we beat them 38-7, and everything was said. Oh, it's going to be it's not at home. They're going to make changes, and then it ended up in the championship game 38-10. So they made about a three-point change, and I really, unfortunately, I see it going that way with this. Based on film and everything I've seen, I got Tech winning 35-13. I think BYU gets a few more points, but not much. I think they start out, get held to field goals early, maybe get a touchdown in garbage time at the end when Tech's already celebrating the win. Yeah. Because they're like that defense is too stout. I don't see a lot changing. Like BYU is not known for going off script and completely changing and coming out with this exotic game plan that completely goes off of who they are. And I think that's what's required in this game. And I don't see BYU doing that. And then with the ability of Tech to only send 4 and drop 8 into coverage, drop 7 into coverage, that's Bears had trouble, trying to throw into that. That's why he had one of the worst games on it as he did, which is why I see it kind of more of the same. And it's a different location, but let's not get twisted. This is a home game for Tech. It's in Jerry World. There, Tech presence in Texas alone, but especially Fort Worth in that area, it's heavy there. So I don't see it, being any time. Like, I bet BYU fans are going to travel. I'm not saying they're not, but it's still a home game for Tech in that regard. So I still, give the advantage that way to Tech. And they're too dominant of a team. I got them 35-13. BYU's, their defense keeps them in it for the game, but I don't see their offense keeping up to win this one.
Yeah, and we'll see how this game goes. Once again, it's going to be a 12 o'clock kick in Jerry World out there at AT&T Stadium, packed house, I'm sure. Going to see a lot of red in a Dallas Cowboys blue stadium. That's going to be off to see, but we'll see what happens there. Looking forward to watching this game tomorrow, and I know all of you are as well. We want to hear your comments though. Facebook and YouTube, main 2 platforms. You can do so. Let us know your prediction. Who's going to win this game? Final score. Player of the game, etc., etc. And also, like I said, if you're able to watch the video, well, you're in luck because you can listen to it because you can find us on Believe Podcast Network, which you find there on Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere you enjoy listening to your shows. You can find us on there as well. It'll be uploaded here as soon as we're done filming this one. Well, for Brandon Larson, thank you, man. Good to have you back on the program talking some Big 12 football as we kind of put a bow on this regular season as we look forward now to the college football playoffs after this. We'll talk more about that later. But It's been a great time talking Big 12 football in the regular season as we celebrate it and look at these two great teams and see who ultimately will come away with the win this Saturday out there, of course, in Jerry World. For Brandon Larson, I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. Go watch some Big 12 football, and we'll see you guys
again.
Of course, man, always a great time. We'll see you guys again on their episode here on One